Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors, and this is my podcast and YouTube channel, Helping Other People Evolve. Today, I have the honor and pleasure. I'm so excited about this interview to interview Jaime Gill. How are you, Jaime?
Excellent. Thank you, Tammy, for having me. So excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So, once again, I'm going to give a little plug for Glenn Murray, our publisher. He introduced me to Jaime. Geez, it was a few months ago that we talked for sure. Yeah. And we, back and forth schedules, things like that. And we finally get to do the interview today. So I'm so excited to chat with her. And you guys are going to hear an amazing story of hope. And what hope is for me is I set out on this mission, this vision to help other people that are struggling to know that they can get to a strength. I feel like so many people, especially nowadays in the world that we live in, are at home, laying in bed, sitting on their couch, feeling like they're all alone and their struggles are overwhelming to them. So what has happened is God has put some amazing people in my life that have been, unfortunately went through struggles, but fortunately they've got to a strength with those struggles. So that's just what I do. And I hope that you hear a story and you are able to walk outside that day and just take a deep breath and know that everything is going to be okay. So Jaime, I know your story is amazing. We've chatted a little bit about it. Not only does she have an amazing story of hope, she's also an author of a few books, which is amazing. And your one book, the lessons for the little boy. I've interviewed Peyton, I've interviewed like 3 people from that book. I can't remember exact names right now, but I should have them written down. But yeah,
How many?
too many, right? I've interviewed Glenn. It's been really good, and that book is incredible. So if you just want to, share a little bit about who Jaime was, some of the struggles you went through, and the strength that you've gotten to.
Wow. So at the heart of me, I'm a writer. And that really comes from being at a place. I often tell people when people ask for what's your title, are you a motivational speaker? What's your title? And I always tell people I'm a self-reflection enthusiast. At the heart of me, I believe in deep self-reflection. I've always been a journaler. I think that's where my passion for writing came from, and from loving books. Being a Curious George was my favorite book growing up as a little kid. And whenever I had good grades in elementary school, my grandmother would buy me another Curious George book. And of course, that naturally evolved just like everybody else or every other little girl to, Nancy Drew and Babysitter's Club. And I not only fell in love with just being able to escape my reality, whatever it was, but just be able to go on the journey with these people or animals and to kind of to feel their experiences. And I began to learn very early in writing that you have the power to provoke emotion. And that love for writing and reading fell into my really just evolved into my love for production. And I worked in radio and television for 25 years. I'm originally from Chicagoland area, and worked in ministry for over 20 years, being a television producer for a very large church in Chicago, and had an opportunity to do freelance work. Had my own radio show with a very dear friend of mine, Alicia Bowens, called The Love Perspective, Lives of Vision and Empowerment. And we did a lot of what you do here, Tammy. We just wanted to give people an opportunity to live a life of vision and empowerment. And so for me, what kind of motivated all of that were a lot of things. I am the youngest of 4 children. My siblings are 8, 10, and 15 years older than me. So I am definitely the surprise baby. And I am a brat by my siblings' definition, and I suck it up.
Yes.
I am definitely the baby of the family. But being in that position, I believe deeply in family placement. And I had an opportunity to learn from so many people, being around my older siblings, my mom, my grandparents, and growing up in the the 70s, 80s, where that time I was just absorbing so much about life and culture and identity. And much like anybody else in life, you go through your struggles and your downfalls. I am also a rape survivor, sexual assault survivor. And so that is a deep part of my story. Having been assaulted 3 times in high school, gang raped and almost killed. That definitely had a lot of shaping to how I saw myself and who I thought I was and
Mhm.
who I have become. I often tell people that I'm not a survivor, that I am a thriver, because surviving just means I didn't die. And
Yes.
I
So
don't want to
good.
stop there. I literally want to thrive. I take all of my bad experiences or difficult situations and I truly make it fuel for my life. I love everything that you stand for with the Hope Show, because I know what it feels like when you don't have that hope. And I know just how essential it is to literally just getting out of the bed every day.
Mhm.
And people often dismiss words like hope and faith and love, but those words are so powerful when you truly apply them to surviving, because
Yes.
that's the first step. You do have to survive, right? And that sometimes it's just not from the physical things that other people do to you or what's happening in the world. I'm sitting before you today. I was suffering with COVID for the past week, and I was literally in my bed for the past week. But after you survive, then there has to be that next level. And
Mm.
and so that's why I write, that's why I speak, that's why I continue to engage, to try to provoke that hope and that love and that strength out of people, because there is still so much to live for. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So what you just said, I love what you said. So you were reading and writing prior to being sexually assaulted,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Yes. So I like to share that with people, like the writing and the journaling, because a lot of people, I feel like, Jamie, they keep that all inside of them, and they don't want to talk to anybody about it because like you said, that hurts your self-image first off. So then you feel ashamed, like, and people can make you feel like, well, what did you do to provoke that? Right. And there is nothing in this entire universe that would provoke anybody to have that happen to them. And
Right.
so I feel like a lot of people they keep this stuff to themselves
Mhm.
and they don't have an outlet. So I've learned too that journaling has been such a savior to myself, because I can't, well, now I can, but before I didn't talk to anybody about anything that happened to me.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
then you keep it all inside. So now when you worked on yourself with that, did you seek counseling help, or did you just do your journaling and writing and
So I think that it's on multiple levels. So speak of the first I didn't speak about the instances until many years after they happened, because after
okay.
the first time it happened, and here's the thing, no one ever thinks that they'll be assaulted in any way.
Right. Right.
But then three times, like within such a short period of time, and mind you, and I like to say this, not because, but we live in a world, people have assumptions. I didn't
Sure.
live in the hood. I wasn't in a gang. I didn't have, it wasn't
Right.
any, these were friends or friends of friends,
Mm,
not always the boogeyman in the bushes.
right.
And that, and I, at that time of my life, I think I'm still a very open and trusting person, but I was
Yes.
very trusting when I was younger, because as much as I always had a bubbly, friendly personality, I also had a lot of self-esteem issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sure if I was pretty enough, not sure if I was popular enough, not sure, all of those things you go through puberty and high school. And I went to a high school filled with beautiful girls, and
Mhm.
academically we were one of the top schools in Illinois. And so when you have all of these pressures around you, now mind you, I played tennis since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I was on varsity as a sophomore. I was in honors classes. I had plenty of friends. So on the surface, there's never any
Mm,
indication that there was any low self-esteem, but puberty, and we're always comparing ourselves to other people. And
mhm.
I lived in, a pretty affluent neighborhood. And so girls are coming in with designer bags and they're shopping all the time and all that kind of stuff. And those are not things that even that I was interested in.
Right.
But when you begin to see a different kind of circle around them, or perceived popularity,
Yes.
that's something that you desire to have because of all the books I was reading
Mhm.
and all
Right.
the movies. So journaling became my escape. After the assaults, I had spiritual counseling, and I take nothing away from the church. at all. I believe in prayer. I believe in reading the Bible. But there is just something very special about other type of counseling, like
Mhm,
going to clinical counseling.
mhm.
I did go to clinical counseling for a little while. That story is always very interesting because the individual that I went to, and I didn't have a problem going to a male counselor, um, but I began to notice that he was enjoying my stories too much.
Oh, mm,
And
yeah.
I had to been at a different space emotionally that could have caused more trauma,
Yes.
very honestly. And so I just stopped going to him. I did talk to other counselors over the years, nothing consistently. I actually was just talking to my employer because I work at a hospital now about going back to counseling.
Okay.
Um, I don't think that there is never enough counseling that you can do. I believe that healing is a process, um,
Yes.
and not a destination. I really think
Yes.
that it is a journey. And I think that, and I tell people all the time that my sexual assaults will always be a part of me, but they
Mhm.
don't define me.
So
They will
good.
always be a part of who I am. It has my spidey senses up. It
Yeah.
made me become very honest. I don't think I was always honest with men in my interactions with them because I was such a people pleaser at that time of my life, and I wanted people to like me and receive me and accept me and choose me and all of the crazy stuff we tell ourselves as women. But I found my voice, and that's when I knew I had to be a writer. Not so much so that I could tell everybody about me, but essentially that what I share about me, I then want you to take and you find out about you. And that's
Mm.
when I started this whole I write culture. And write is an acronym: willingly risking introspection for transformation and elevation.
Ooh,
And
so good.
I actually am speaking at a conference tomorrow just about that, about the power of self-reflection and going deep. And I consistently, this is not a prop. I consistently have I have journals for all kind of stuff. This is my self-love journal so that I could just write affirmations about me loving me and learning to love
Mm.
me. And this is just my daily motivation. It has some prompts in here. This was a gift from a friend. It has a prompt in here, and then it allows you to. And the very first one was about abuse, and
Oh,
so
geez.
and she didn't know. This is when I read the Bible, and when I find things in scripture that give me hope and light. And then this one, oh, I forgot which one. I girl, I have so many. Why do I
Yeah,
need
that's
three
great.
journals? I don't know, but and these are just the chosen four right now.
Right.
I literally have so many because I recognize that I have a lot of questions about life, a whole lot.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of questions about God, and my journey. And I think that we do a disadvantage to ourselves by pretending like we have it all together,
So good.
and that we don't need to talk about things that hurt us, or
Mhm.
that confuse us, even at X age, X time frame.
Yes.
Um, and so I encourage it all. Journaling, counseling. I
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a fan of it all.
So I want to touch back a little bit when you were talking about like, okay, being in school around the girls, and the comparison. And I think more now with social media,
Yeah.
it's so rampant out there. Everybody sees all the highlight reels, all the filters. If you can't tell someone has a filter, I'm sorry, but I'm really a big advocate on my self-esteem was horrible for years. Actually, my self-esteem honestly didn't really start getting better until probably about 5 to 6 years ago. Honestly, I mean, I walked around and felt okay about myself. But once
Right.
I started doing the affirmations, learning who I really was and what a perfectly imperfect, which I have tattoos of affirmations all over my body to remind myself that God made me the way that I was supposed to be made,
That's right.
and I I want to say it was probably 20 years ago that I use this example a lot. I have a friend and she still to this day is like, she was 17 at the time. So, and I was a little bit older, but she was beautiful. Like you just look at her and she was beautiful. And I remember she was sitting at the kitchen table and she was doing homework. And I said something, and then we were talking a little bit and I said something about how pretty she was. And she almost looked around like, who are you talking to? And I was like, well, I was talking to you. She's
Right.
like, girl, I am not pretty at all. And I thought, well, yeah, you are. And that's when it hit me. Like, if we don't love ourselves, we don't feel that way about ourselves, right? Like, I look at you and I cannot believe that there would have been a day in your life that you did not absolutely think that you were beautiful. But I know that that's not a fact.
That's right.
So, and especially, and I don't think that it has to be just women feeling that way about themselves. We all need to learn our worth and know that we're worthy. There's men out there that go through, domestic violence, abuse, low self-esteem. And you know from your book, Lessons for a Little Boy, that that's a huge thing for men to come out and talk about, right?
People ask me all the time, how can a woman tell a man how to be a man? I said, I can't. That's why I wrote Lessons for a Little Boy. I created the platform for men to have the conversation. I wrote Lessons for a Little Boy because after writing Lessons for a Little Girl, a man came up to me and literally said, and I will forever thank him, because without him, Lessons for a Little Boy would not be true to the world today. But he says, if there's something in here for women, I know there's something in here that I can learn from.
Yes.
And it was in that moment that I realized that, men need self-reflection, men need affirmation, men need to be reminded, men need love, men need support, just like women do. Maybe not in the same ways, but at the very fact that of our humanity, there are just some things that we need as humans, like we need food and air and sleep. There are some things that we need on an emotional level and a spiritual level, or else we do not survive or thrive. And I think that the men in Lessons for a Little Boy did an amazing job of painting that vulnerability and allowing people to see from all walks of life. I mean, the authors in that book are 23 to 60 something. And so it's a true snapshot of just how much we need each other, and we need to be able to when you know that you're needed in this world, your very existence, to me, that is my motivation to be better, because sometimes I don't do the best for me. But if I know that if somebody needs me, oh, okay, well, let me get it together. Let me get better. Let me get well. Let me do the work because somebody needs me. I didn't always do it for myself. I'm at a season in my life where I now do the work for myself, and I do love myself for myself. That's why I have a self-love journal.
Right.
But initially it was for other people, is why I knew I needed to start the healing journey. So you're absolutely correct in that.
Yes. And when you just said something else that you just said that hit with me too is, like I don't wake up every single day like, I'm awake. You know what I mean? Like it takes work in the morning. Like I get up and I have to do my gratitude, and I have to read my devotion, and I have to set my day. But the one thing that I do every day is before I walk into some place, I always pray and just say, okay, God, whoever you want me to be the light for today, let me do that. And in doing that, it could be just a smile for someone. It could be just holding a door open for someone. But when you get that little bit of gratitude, I'm like, yes, I made a difference in someone else's life today. And it makes a difference in my life. When we do this, and I'm sure you've gotten calls, I'm sure you've gotten messages about your books, and just like, wow, thank you for that, because it helped me get through this. Right. And I think that that is so powerful, because I feel like we live in such a world right now, not only of entitlement, but also selfishness, and I talked about this on one of my podcasts, because some people think, they're being selfish if they're not helping people. But at the same time, you're being selfish if you're not helping yourself.
That's right.
Right.
There's a scripture in the Bible that Louis talks about, says, love one another as you love yourself, love one another. What's the scripture?
Love.
Yeah, I gotta find it. But
Okay.
the biggest word in that sentence is as. To the degree and measure in which you're able to love yourself, you're able to love others.
Mm,
The reality is that if I have zero, how
yeah.
can I give you 100?
Yes.
It's impossible. And that
Yes.
was a person who literally was giving from a deficit. Even more recently, like I work in the emergency room, and I did all the precautions to stay away from COVID and not get it. But I really believe that I got it strategically
Mm,
because I was depleted literally in every space of my life.
mm-hmm.
I had not, I work 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I would work 36 hours straight. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't doing the spiritual regiment that I had. I wasn't eating properly, if I was eating at all. Just kind of living on vapors.
Mm-hmm.
And so my body was open for disease, or
Yes.
for illness. And
Yes.
I just believe in, now mind you, there were a lot of people coming in the hospital sick, and so I knew it was just, I didn't wasn't hoping for it for myself,
Right.
but I
Right.
knew that I was just more susceptible to getting it. And when I got it, it came in like a thunderbolt. and
Mm,
and as much as it hurt and it was ugly, and I'm still having some residuals from it, I'm grateful, which
mm-hmm.
sounds crazy to say, because I was able to rest. I was able to recognize that I had an addiction to this.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Always
yeah.
checking the tongue, but I literally had no energy, that I couldn't. And I recognized how much stimulation I was getting externally all the time. And so I
Mm-hmm.
literally, God had to shut my body down,
Mm,
which then shut my mind down. My mind never stops. I tell people, as a creative, I have 88 new ideas a day. And I do. And so that was able to shut down. And then I was able to really just kind of hear,
mm-hmm.
not only what literally, like I could hear my ceiling fan, I could hear the birds on, like I was present for the
Yes.
first time in a long time, Tammy. And it
Mhm.
was just at that moment, and I was like, I had to honestly repent. Like, God, I'm so sorry that I've busied myself so much that I was becoming God. I
Mm,
literally was. I have to take care of it. I have to go make the money. I have to make things
mhm.
work. I. And if I was doing all of this, then where was there room for God to be God? There
Wow.
was room. And so for me, I literally had to repent, and I was, stressing out because I'm a writer. So I have to get my books out, and not because, and me and my lovely publisher, we often have these great conversations about, I didn't become a writer to make money.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. We all have to have money to live.
Sure. Sure.
I want people to be able to give the best versions of themselves to the world.
Yes.
That's literally why I became a writer. I
Yes.
wrote Lessons for Little Girl 1. I know I love to tell this story, and I'll give it briefly. But at the time, I was in a toxic relationship. And I found out that the gentleman that I was dating, I found out that he was also dating 2 other women.
Oh. Okay.
And here's the caveat to that, though. He had been in these relationships with these 2 other women for 6 years,
Oh.
and they knew about each other, and they were okay with each other. But when I came into the picture, then there was a problem. And when I began to learn all of this information, and I began to sit, and I said, how sad is it that you would settle for a piece of a relationship? I'm not even gonna say a piece of a man, a piece of a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
instead of having it all. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
understand if that's what they wanted, but at the heart of these women, they wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did. And I'm not saying that because of what I heard. I had a conversation with one of them one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just began to look at how he had been moving and maneuvering. And so Lessons for a Little Girl really came at a time and a space where I wanted women to tap into that little girl of who they were when they were little. What does
Mm,
she dream? What does she want? What does she deserve? What does she hope for?
mhm,
And at what point did you stop those things? Did you
mm,
stop dreaming those things? Did life get in the way? Did was it school? Was it marriage? Was it children? Was it sick, ailing parents? Was it bills? What was it that made this little girl begin to die? And
mhm.
I literally wrote this book and Lessons for Little Girl 2, a Lesson for Little Boy, to be able to be that space for us to reconnect to who
Mm,
we really are. Our dreams are worth dreaming. Our dreams are worth the work. Our love deserves to be nurtured and cared for, whether you want to be married or you don't, whether you want to have children or you don't. It's not so much about the typical American dream picture that we've been sold. It's whatever your truth is. I want you to
yes,
have your truth. If you never want to get married and you want to travel the world and taste food from every continent, then I want that for you. But I want you to be able to do it in the best, healthiest way possible,
right.
mind, body, soul, and spirit. So
Yeah. I want to reflect a little bit on what you said about
yeah.
you getting COVID and being basically laid down, right? Because I feel like that happens so much. And I don't know so much about men because I can't speak for men on that instant, but I do know that as a woman, I have done that so many times. I've gotten so busy with everything around me. Like you said, then I'm not doing my meditation in the morning. I'm not reading my devotional. I'm not doing my gratitude in the morning. And then one day I'm like laid out, like you said, because for one thing, I'm not feeding my soul and I'm not taking care of me. And I feel like God says, all right, guess what? Now you're going to lay down because you need to reconnect with me, and it's the same thing, like you said, and then you're not out there with your faith and your hope and your prayers and helping other people because you're just so here, there. I'm so busy and you're not getting anything done really, honestly, and I think that's so important to know that we need to take that time for ourselves. And what you said about this right here, same thing. And I've
Mhm.
learned in the morning, instead of getting up and grabbing this,
Mhm.
I do the things I have to do first because you can get on here and you could see a post, you could see something, you could get a message from somebody that makes your day start in this whirlwind of who knows what, right?
Right.
So I think if we get our mind right in the morning, excuse me, that's very, very important. There was something else that you said that I was going to reflect on. Darn it. I'll remember in a minute. But oh, I know what I was going to talk about a little bit. And I was in an event one time and they said, pull out a picture of yourself when you were little, like 8, 7, when you were talking about what killed your dreams. Was it, school? Was it a teacher? Was it something a sibling said, something a parent said, something somebody on the bus said? What killed your dream? And I've been hearing a lot of people say lately, the biggest bully in our entire life is ourself.
That's
We
right.
are our biggest bully. So what they had us do is they had us take this picture and put it in on a poster board, right? And how old we were, and look at that picture and ask yourself, would you say those things that you say to yourself now to that little girl or that little boy?
I'm gonna show you something, Tammy. You're gonna flip out.
Okay. I can't wait to see it.
This sits on my dresser. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, now I see it. Yep.
This
Oh,
started in college. I
okay.
keep a picture. People think it's vain or whatever. I don't care what job I have. If I ever have an office or I keep a picture of my younger self everywhere that I go.
Good for
It
you.
started in college because I was feeling myself slipping in college.
Mhm.
I was just like, I had this picture of me graduating from kindergarten, or I think it was daycare, like preschool. And I was standing outside my childhood home, and I'm just like in
Uh-huh.
full Jamie,
Yeah.
the long gown on, my feet are all crooked because I'm pigeon toed, and and I'm just not a care in the world. And I was looking at her, and I said, "Where are you?
Oh,
Where'd you go?" And
yeah.
that's actually how Lessons for the Little Girl one starts, where I'm having a conversation with a stranger and I'm frantically looking for this little girl.
Mm.
And he was like, "Oh, I saw her." And so I'm like, "Where? Tell me, where is she?" And he was like, and I'm like, "What do you mean? I am the little girl and the little girl is me." And it's literally talks about what you just spoke of that you had at the conference. Like we lose her. For guys, we lose him, and we feel irresponsible if we're holding on to our childhood dreams, and we feel irresponsible that we're not including fun time and all of those things in our life. And downtime, like you said, we feel like we're being selfish, but I'm learning in my life, and it's making me emotional even now just thinking about it, how much time I've missed trying to become grown and be a grown woman. And at this state of my life, I'm not. I am trying to preserve my little girl.
Yes.
Y'all can have adulthood. You could be grown.
Right.
You can have it. But her, she's my hero. She was fearless and she was fun and she had faith and she spoke her mind and she had fear, but she did it anyway. And
Yes.
she is just my little girl is my hero. And I that is, if I don't do anything else on this planet, I literally want to motivate every woman in the world, every man in the world, one little girl or one little boy at a time. And whether it's through a book, whether it's through a seminar, whether it's authentic conversations like these,
Yes.
I think we need to move in. You brought up social media, and I'm so glad you did. I did a conference once with young people. I said, you guys are striving for likes and follows. I said, where are you leading people? What do you want them to follow you for? When
Right.
before social media was a thing, and it was, I was always doing like these fake live, because live wasn't a thing. But I would go and record these videos when I worked in ministry, and I'm like, oh, live at the youth conference, we're gonna be hosted, and I would go and I would hurry up and edit it and put it up so it could appear to be live.
Right.
And when live became a thing and social media became a thing, I was so excited. And my mom even said, she said, God created this platform for you because you've been doing all of this for years. And I was like, I know, right? But the more popular social media became, the more invisible I became. Because I recognized that there were so many people that were living this facade of, oh, let me put up the best picture. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna put up a horrible picture of myself either on purpose.
Right.
But I recognized it was too much effort in trying to create a life. And this time that I've had off for COVID, God said to me, in my assignment, Jamie, it's not about you presenting a package. It's just about you living authentically in front of the world. That's what I need you to do. It's not about you editing cute videos. It's not about you putting together the right, transitions. And it's just about you being authentic to the world. And that was kind of my, my hug from heaven, as I call it, because it was like, okay, I don't have, and I'm a producer by nature. So you have to for me to turn a producer girl off is hard. I'm like,
yeah,
nope.
I bet.
What did I ask you? How's my lighting? Is my that's producer 101. But at the end of the day, sometimes people want the grainy picture and they need your audio to be imperfect, because it's in the imperfections that they can truly find out that where they are in their life is okay.
Yes.
Until they get a better mic, until they get better lights, and it's just about presenting who they are.
Yes.
And, that's all you have to do.
It's funny that you say that, because I hear from a lot of people, because I'm more and more authentic too, right? I'm just like, here I am. This is me. I don't know. Yesterday, I can be very vulnerable with the things that I do too, because some things I do, I'm just like, my son's like, oh, mom, what were you thinking? So yesterday I had, on Wednesdays, I do Wellness Wednesday posts usually. And I mowed my grass, or I guess 2 days ago. I'm all confused on my times because of my work schedule right now. But Wednesday, I mowed my grass and I was like, oh, I'm going to do a handstand against the tree and take a picture. So instead of doing a video, which I should have, I did it on the timer, right? So I do this handstand against the tree. I got the lawnmower sitting there and I'm like, this is going to be a great post. And I'm up there and I'm doing a great handstand. I get down. Well, the camera hadn't taken the picture yet. Like, darn it. So I reset the camera. I said, okay, I'll set it for 10 seconds. When it gets to 5, I'll do my handstand. Right. So it gets to 5 and I kind of rush up there and I get up there and there's tree, the roots coming from the tree. So I was off balance, crash. Like I have a mark on my shoulder, my knees messed up. I'm like, so I went and saw my chiropractor, did all the things, and my friends are like, you've got to post this. So
Right.
I did a little intro video of what happened, and then I showed off because there's a picture of me laying next to the lawnmower in between the tree and the lawnmower, and then I took the pictures of my medicine I had to buy, my chiropractic visit, all the things, right? But at the end of the day, it's just who I am, you
That's
know.
right. That's
So and with like you said, social media, everybody wants the world to look like they're holding their baby at the ocean and they're in love, and you see all this, and sure they might, but then the next day you hear that they're getting divorced and you're like, well, wait a minute, so that facade that's out there. So I love that you talked about that, like you're real Jamie, you're like, here I am, this is who I am.
My hair's blonde today, maybe black tomorrow, curly,
Right.
and that is authentically who I am. I had a friend once tell me, we would glean like, oh, your relationship, this is you're so beautiful, and she was like, girl, that's all for Facebook. And I was like, what? Like, why would you even go through that work of lying? Because ultimately it's a lie.
Yes.
It is a lie. And
Yes.
for me, I want to live in all truth. All
Yes.
truth. And whatever that truth is. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and he was asking me, was I dating anybody, whatever. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't want to be bothered right now. And he just bust out laughing. He's known me for many, many years. He said, Jamie, you're so brutally honest. I said, I'm just being honest. There are phases of my life where I wanted to be in love and I wanted to do the whole date night thing and just like and say, I literally don't want to be bothered. I don't want to call to see how your day was today. I don't want to see if you ate it. I do not want to be bothered. And it's not about the me doing for somebody. I don't want you bothering me either. Like,
Right.
Don't call me, don't text me, no nothing. And it's not because I have this, all of these horror stories with dating relationships. I think all of my dating relationship stories are entertaining. Like I don't think that they're even I had a conversation with a male friend of mine recently about, surviving sexual assault. This is somebody I just met a couple months ago. And we were just getting to know each other. Really nice guy. He lives in South Carolina. Very nice guy. And he got fighting mad that I had been assaulted. And he wanted names and addresses. And I'm looking at him like, we're on FaceTime. I'm like, you look crazy. Why are you so upset? Why are you mad? Why aren't you more mad? I said, because I'm not going to stay in bondage of what happened to me. Like I have forgiven them. And he was looking at me like I had 17 heads. Like,
oh, I bet. Yes.
I don't want them to die. I don't want anything horrible to happen to them. Like at the heart of me, I want them to be healed. I want them, and I've had an opportunity to talk to one of them. I want them to come into realization of how they affected my life, and get the help and healing that they need. All of the men, unfortunately, I was never into drugs, but I hung around people who were, because I thought they were funny and entertaining. And so I would cook for them while they were high. So I did. I was like, I was an athlete and I already had asthma. So I'm like, I need to mess up my lungs.
Right.
But I would hang around them. And that's why I was in these vulnerable situations. And I'm not saying I just put it all on the drugs, but the drugs didn't help. It didn't help them make wise decisions. And because some of these people I knew before the incidents, they're not horrible people. They just made a very horrible decision. And my prayer all the time is that they don't, they didn't do it again, or that they're not still doing it. That's my prayer. And hope. But that's my truth at my life, where I'm like, I don't want to date right now because I'm at a different step in my healing where I want to know what it is that I want, know what it is that I need, know what it is that I like to do. I want to learn to love Jamie completely, so that way when someone tries to present love to me, I can recognize very quickly that's not love. That's manipulation, or you're a narcissist, or you're here for your own self, gain, or whatever the situation may be. And that's just my truth, and I'm okay with it. And talk to me in 2 months, I may feel differently, or at 60 in 20 years, I may be like, you know what? I think I'm ready for love.
Yeah.
Here.
Listen, I'm pushing 60 and I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet either. So,
It's
you
just,
know,
but it is through my books and through my writing that I'm enjoying the journey, and I'm okay
good.
with it. And if something presents itself and it's authentic, it's
Yes.
authentic. And you know what I'm learning now? Tell me very honestly, that people don't know how to be friends. They don't even know how to be your friend. But you want to
Right.
be my husband or you want to be my boyfriend? You don't even
Right.
be my friend. Like, let's just sit and like, have you seen me hungry? Have you seen me mad? Have you seen me tired? Have you seen me frustrated? Have you seen me with writer's block? That's a really scary situation. Have you have you seen me, at a place where I'm in? Have you seen me when I'm doing production and when I'm writing and I'm in my flow? Because that Jamie, she is beautiful. Like she is an amazing. Somebody took a picture of me once when I was in the middle of like just total focus of production. And like it's one of my favorite pictures of myself. You know what I mean? Because it's like, look, girl, you are beautiful. You are in the zone. You are doing what you created to do, and you're tapping into the best parts of you. And if you haven't seen me that way, there's no way you can say you're ready to marry me or be my boyfriend because you don't know me.
Right. Right. That's so
But
true.
we're ever evolving creatures. I'm learning myself new every day. And so
Mhm.
I want to be able to have something that's authentic, and I'm okay. Let me
Mm.
say this. If you don't share nothing else, share this sentence right here. If I never get married, I'm still okay.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, I'm living in my truth and I'm learning to
Mhm.
be able to have authentic connection with God, authentic connection with myself, and authentic connection with others. I would rather have 1,000 authentic friendships than an
Yes.
unauthentic marriage.
Yes. Oh, I agree with that
Not
100%.
having, not one.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk one thing that you said in there that I think is very, very important for people is you talked about your forgiveness for those people that did that to you.
Mhm.
Now, I always tell people forgiveness is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
say, you did say that you spoke to one of the men, but you know, people don't realize that forgiveness doesn't mean you have to run up to somebody and hug them and say, "Oh, I forgive you for everything you did to me."
Right.
Forgiveness needs to come for you,
That's right. It,
and
it holds you hostage at that place of pain if you don't.
yes.
And you literally, I mean, whether we're talking about sexual assault or even my father, for example, my father, I didn't grow up around with my dad around. My parents got divorced when I was very, very young. And, but yet, mm, when my father took his last breath, it was only me and my sister in the room. God did a full circle in our relationship because in my 20s, I had an opportunity, 20s, 30s, I had an opportunity to accept my father for who he was, or
Mhm.
I could consistently mourn the relationship we didn't have. And
Mhm.
for me, I had to forgive him for not being the dad I thought I needed because
Yes.
he did the best that everybody, and this is something that people are doing the best they can for where they are.
Yes.
And as I told a gentleman yesterday at the car dealership, you can't tell people how to be. You can't tell people. You can hope or want it because of based off where you are and what you need. But if it's not coming authentically from them, that then that's not who they are. And so I forgave my father for not being what I wanted or needed him to be. And I just allowed him to be who he was. And
Mm.
then the power of that love and relationship that we then have. My father took his last breath on August 2nd of 2017. 2019. It was horrible,
Yes.
absolutely horrible. But it was beautiful because I had no regrets.
Mm.
We talked about everything. I had got to a place of healing in our relationship. My dad was my buddy. You know what I mean? And me moving to
Yeah.
Florida ended up being a blessing. And so, yes, anybody that watches this, please hear my heart when I say that you have to learn to forgive, even if it's yourself.
Mm.
Sometimes we make decisions that is not the best for ourselves. Forgive yourself for that.
Yes.
Forgive yourself for saying what you said. Forgive yourself for doing what you did. Forgive yourself for not doing what you were supposed to do. Forgive yourself and allow yourself the opportunity to start new because when you do, you literally will feel the weight. It is a physical feeling that you
Mhm.
have when that weight comes off of you. Unforgiveness does nothing but hold you hostage to the pain that you experience from that situation.
Yes, yes. And one thing I want to add with that when you talk about forgiving yourself is give yourself grace. I mean, God gives us grace. You got to give yourself grace and forgiveness. And that's amazing. Now I'm going to wrap this up. I'm pretty sure we're going to do this again soon because
Yes,
this
I
is
hope so.
so good. I can't
Yeah,
wait. One of these days when you come to Chicago area, I'm going to
I'll be there in
something
2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. You'll be there. What
Yes,
days? Okay. We'll talk about that after
we'll
we hang
talk.
up.
We'll talk.
Yeah. So Jamie's got these amazing books out here. You know, she's got her first lessons for the little girl, lessons for the little boy. She's got a new one that just launched that she's really launching in the next week or two. Lessons for the little
Girl,
girl
too.
too. Yeah. So I'm so
Girl,
excited for everything you have going on, Jamie.
you.
I'm so blessed by Glenn. I just want to throw him out there. Glenn is an amazing man.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Glenn. Yeah. And he, he just really has introduced me to some amazing people. So I'm just honored to have you as my friend. And,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where our journey of life goes together.
Ditto. Tammy, you have been when Lessons for Little Boy came out, you were one of the first names that he told me about. And since then, you and I connected on social media, and you are one of the posts I look for. So if you ever have any self doubt or don't want to know that Jamie's waiting for your post. You literally give me so much hope and light every day. I always say, you never know who needs you, and I need you. And so continue to post, continue to share your beautiful light, your beautiful story. I can't wait to be in the same room with you, because if it's half of the energy that I get from you off the internet, then I know I'm just gonna start crying.
Oh, I
From
can't
all
wait for that.
this. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
So
thank
thank
you
you.
so much for being our guest on Hope today. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has an amazing day. Get out there, enjoy life. It's short, and you're going to be the best version of you can be. Have a great day, everyone.